Spaceflight company Sierra Space dropped a tweet this week basically announcing that they're going to be changing the game for what it means to become a commercial astronaut. I'm going to be breaking down their blog article for you so you don't have to, so let's jump right into it. So right out of the gate, the article says how to become a commercial astronaut. They're not talking about government astronauts, they're not talking about tourist astronauts, commercial astronauts, people who are hired to go to space. They're describing it as the workforce of the future. And that's because they're creating their Dream Chaser space plane, which is kind of like a miniature space shuttle in a way. They've been working on that for years, and that's starting to get contracts. They're also developing the Orbital Reef alongside with Blue Origin, which is going to be the first private space station ever built. So they're going to be having not only opportunities to fly into space on Dream Chaser, but opportunities to live, work, and exist in space aboard Orbital Reef. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here, everybody. The categories of commercial space astronauts. Number one, you're a career astronaut. So the first way an individual can become a commercial astronaut is to pursue a career with a private space company. And like I was saying, this isn't really a thing that exists right now. Very few individuals have had this chance. And right now you're starting to see the awakening. So many more companies are going to start hiring people to go to space. For instance, Sierra Space will hand select astronauts for the most inclusive astronaut corps in history. And they're going to train them to perform a variety of space missions. They're expanding the breadth of those who may qualify to fly by using inclusive criteria in our physical requirements. Yeah, I think they're looking at being like, hey, you don't have to be an Air Force test pilot or a 4 PhD doctor to go to space anymore. We're looking at widening the criteria and finding a diverse spread of careers, professions, abilities, qualifications, because the achievements you have don't necessarily mean that you are qualified or you're disqualified. They're like, let's look at this more broadly. I think that's really exciting. These missions can include a range of activities: working on our low Earth orbit commercial space station, the Orbital Reef, to run experiments, manufacture items that can only be made in microgravity, and to guide customers in a once-in-a-lifetime destination experience in space. So you're kind of be like a tour guide in a way. So our career astronauts will perform vital roles both in space and on Earth at our Human Spaceflight Center. How cool does that sound? It sounds like they're also making an academy as well. So there's going to be not only just a place to execute, but a place to train and educate. Number two, specialist astronaut. So these are people who are employees of other companies that Sierra Space will take on for missions, because they're specialized in deploying a technology or building something or running an experiment. They're going to bring on these mission specialists. A specialist can include microgravity researchers and scientists, innovators, manufacturers, artists and designers, we'll come back to that in a second, and a wide range of other professionals. So let's go back to the artist thing. The other ones kind of are self-explanatory. Being an artist has not really been a reason for NASA or any government to pay $30 million to send you to space. They want somebody who is skilled and can perform a certain task, who's been trained for a lot. It's like, yeah, okay, great, you can paint, but can you build the space station? Or can you fly this ship? Those are more important to us. But I think now that commercial spaceflight is becoming more of a thing, the opportunities for those who are artistic or design focused, are able to have the opportunity to go, to convey their experiences in a new way, and to actually come up with new angles to look at artwork and to share that with the world, to inspire people about space travel. And as an artist myself, not so much of an engineer, that also makes me feel included. So if they're talking about inclusion and being inclusive, adding artists and designers, that makes me feel included, and I'm excited about that. Number three, experiential astronaut. And this is kind of more like another word, I think, for tourists in a lot of ways. This is like the pay to go to space. Like, I will pay whatever sum it takes to get a ticket on that rocket, and I'm going to experience microgravity and space for myself. I'm going to go live there. They just said these commercial astronauts are everyday individuals who may purchase the opportunity to visit space for incomparable views, personal research, outreach campaigns, and once-in-a-lifetime experience. So yeah, they're just trying to give more opportunity for those who maybe just want to go for fun, to go to space instead of having to be task oriented. So there's sort of this pyramid. Career astronauts kind of the top, more focused. You're training and studying and preparing for very focused portions of their mission. Then you've got that, what's number 2, specialist astronauts. That's like the wider portion of the pyramid, the middle section. It's like, let's open up the criteria here a little bit and we'll make sure we get what we need done. And then the last one, experiential astronaut. A lot of people, short amount of time, kind of like the theme park experience, so to speak. If you want a thriving industry, you need all 3 of those. You can't just have one or the other. You need kind of all those to generate interest into all the different markets, the different pockets of the populace. You like that? Pockets of populace? I never thought I'd say that before. But they say bonus option, experience space without leaving Earth. What does that mean? So let's read it. You don't have to become a full-fledged astronaut to experience space training. What? Sierra Space is one of the leading companies that will offer a realistic astronaut experience for those customers who would rather remain on Earth, but who still dream of experiencing space. One such opportunity would help you develop astronaut-focused wilderness experience training wilderness skills training, for your adventurous side. More options are in the planning phases now. So they're like trying to give people a taste of what it takes to train for an astronaut, to become an astronaut, but you don't necessarily need to experience the dangers, risks, or the thrills of riding a rocket. And some people just aren't up to that. They just want to know what it takes, but not necessarily execute. So they've really thought of everything. Now let's get into the next section here. What does it take to be a commercial astronaut? So now we know the 3 types of astronauts. What does it take to be those? Let's just read the checkpoints. So it takes a strong emotional intelligence. That's known as EQ, which if you ever hear that, it's kind of like IQ is like actual intelligence, and EQ is like how well have you developed your emotional skills. Obviously, decision making and risk and danger are very prevalent in spaceflight. A lot can go wrong. If you've ever seen Apollo 13, you know this is the case. But they need people who are not going to panic, who are going to train hard and focus on solving issues in real time, being cooperative with the people around them, and ensuring the safety of themselves and everyone. So do you have EQ? That's something you don't just like gain overnight either. That's something you train and practice for. Your relationships with other people and how you treat them, I think it matters, and so do they. Second one, unique, diverse ways of thinking. So we're not looking for people who think like us. The trainees will become the ambassadors of space exploration. We want them to bring revolutionary ideas and thought processes to the table. I love that. That's really encouraging to hear, that they're looking for people who do not necessarily have the same ideologies or beliefs as them. They want people to be represented and to feel like they have the chance to problem solve in a non-conventional way. I think that's always helpful. A dedication to thrive in extreme circumstances. From the rigorous training to the bodily demands of spacecraft travel, becoming an astronaut requires fortitude. Commercial astronauts will experience both mental and physical challenges, and they must be fully dedicated to the success and safety of their mission. I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. Resilience is the next check mark, an ability and willingness to constantly problem solve. This is a skill necessary to be successful in the face of a unique environment in which we have never encountered on Earth. The next section, what's involved in commercial astronaut training? Physical fitness, of course. A strength and endurance exercise regimen, aerobic conditioning. So strength and endurance, talking about weightlifting and resistance training, that sort of deal. Maybe calisthenics, aerobic conditioning. So running, you need to have a healthy heart and good circulatory system that allows you to transport and deliver oxygen to your body in an efficient and healthy way. Bone and muscle health checks, also important. One of the quickest ways that the body deteriorates in space is bone density. So you need to be able to have support on those bones with your muscles while you're in space. If you're especially in a long duration mission, you need to be able to weight lift and run all the time so that you can support your hips and your spine and all of the leg muscles that you don't use anymore. You need to go into your space travel with that already being strong. You're not making up for it as you get up there. Balance and coordination activities. It's one of the ways they test astronauts when they come back from space from long duration missions, is actually testing their coordination and balance, because your internal vestibular system, of course, in your head gets thrown off. You get used to floating with no sense of up or down. How quickly can you rebound from that is sort of what they test. And that determines your readiness to return to the real world back on Earth. So if you have good, strong ability to focus and do balance and coordination ahead of a launch, you're likely going to have a good chance of rebounding pretty quickly. And of course, nutritional education. You're not eating Taco Bell every day. It's basically what they're saying. You know what it takes to eat a healthy diet and maintain it. Rhythms of discipline. That's what I've been talking about in my TikToks, is rhythms of discipline. Do you know how to eat the right things when you need to eat them? Moderation of the bad things, but encouraging yourself to have good dietary habits. So space adaptation is this next section here that I'm talking about. Although no one can fully anticipate how it feels to travel in space, astronauts are thoroughly trained and prepared for the physiological effects beforehand. So their training program includes classroom education, centrifuge runs where they spin you around in a giant machine, kind of like a carnival ride, parabolic flights, which are those like zero-G flights where you fly in a commercial airliner that's designed to go like this, which simulates weightlessness, extreme environment and isolation, and leadership training. So this would be things like how NASA sticks simulated astronauts in domes in the middle of the desert to kind of make it look like they're living on Mars or the moon, and gets them practiced for training and living with just a few people in a very tight, confined space with limited resources, no access to natural resources like running water or clean air outside or whatever it is. Kind of gets them used to that. Leadership training as well is learning how to trade leadership opportunities with your crew members and being okay with that, of being in charge sometimes, not being in charge at other times, and being a good leader and a good follower. And they're clearly incorporating that as well. Medical training and research, and that obviously makes sense too, is learning how to administer medical help to those that you need on yourself, things like that. And of course, researching, learning how to measure things in real time in your body, like your eyes or your bone density, so that you can relay that information back to those who study it on Earth. Spaceplane operations. So the spaceplane that they're developing, the Dream Chaser, has been in development for years, and it's starting to come alive. It's going to be delivering up to 7 people to space at a time. And of course, it's going to require trained pilots and trained operators to make it function and maintain its safety levels as it's being operated in space. So everybody will be trained on that, no matter who you are. If you're flying on it, you will be learning how to use Dream Chaser. Now the next section about our Astronaut Training Academy. This sounds awesome. This is like stuff of the future. This is sci-fi level stuff to be thinking about. An Astronaut Training Academy? Sign me up. Like bring me there right now. What do I need to do to help get that started? I want to be a part of it. We're changing the future, and that includes training the workforce of tomorrow. As you read this, Sierra Space Training Academy is preparing for the next generation of astronauts to usher humankind into the orbital age. They said orbital, the Orbital Alliance, we're here, we're ready. I'm just kidding. I gotta calm down here for a second. So their program combines the best practices of legacy astronaut training with the agility and focus of a commercial spaceflight company. We'll be developing skill sets that don't even exist yet, and more importantly, we'll be training some of the most talented and ambitious explorers on the planet. As you read a little bit more and read some of their other articles, you'll realize that the people who are in charge of this academy have been heavily influenced or heavily immersed in the NASA Astronaut Training Corps and their facilities and programs for a very long time, sometimes decades. So these people are bringing that expertise into the commercial sector, like with Sierra Space, and they're going to be kind of adapting it, like I said, for the speed of the commercial sector. Government is slow and inefficient, but with the commercial sector, they can move rapidly and quickly, more efficiently. So they're going to learn how to do that. And of course, the last section here, launch your space career today. What are the actionable steps you can be taking to joining their academy? Well, quite frankly, it boils down to a simple little thing for now. There's not much to do except for signing up for their updates. This is what they say. So there's a link that they have at the bottom of the page. It says, if you're interested in the Sierra Space Astronaut Training Academy, sign up for the updates. We also invite you to explore potential career paths with our team. They have a link there, including aerospace internship opportunities. So there's something to do, but not necessarily the full-blown applications yet. My guess is that won't come for at least another year, maybe more. I could be wrong, but I did sign up immediately. So Sierra Space, if you are watching this, I signed up for your updates, and I hope to find out as soon as you guys open up applications how I can do that successfully, because I would love to apply for your academy. Well, that about wraps up all the information included in the blog for now. If they come out with any more updates, I'll be sure to keep you guys posted right here on the Orbital Alliance. In the meantime, be sure to watch this video that pops up right here. I'll see you all on the other side.